a quarter of humanity. So basically the major things that we care about are not saved by this 2-degree target. So we've actually got to have a much...
We're not actually going to get anyway, but we'll go on to that.
Well, we'll see about that. But we actually, that it is still in the negotiating text here at this meeting to actually have a target of 1.5 degrees, which would put us much closer to the safety line.
And go back to a step for people who haven't got a clue what you're talking about. Degrees, 6 degrees, your book.
Yes, thanks for the plug.
You're welcome. What's it all about?
The point was for that book and for the film, of course, for The Age of Stupid, was to give some idea of what actually happens at each degree rise in temperature. Because, of course, to your average person, 2 degrees, 4 degrees, it all sounds like the weather yesterday, today, tomorrow. Yeah. Actually, to give you an illustrative example, 6-degree rise in temperature would put the world hotter than it's been for 100 million years. So back into the age of the dinosaurs. So into a completely geologically unprecedented type of situation.
And now, where are we at now?
Well, at the moment we're at 0.7 degrees if you take your baseline as pre-industrial,
okay,
which is what most of us agree on. So the target for 2 degrees is above pre-industrial. That's an important point, actually.
But another important point, I believe, is that even though we're at 0.7 now, we're already committed from all the from the last 30 years of emissions, because emissions the temperature rise doesn't happen immediately, we're actually already committed to 1.5 or something.
Another 0.4, so add it together you get 1.1 above pre-industrial.
So
that's where we're currently at.
Yeah. If we stopped at 0 emissions tomorrow, we'd be on 1.1.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're saying we've got to go under 1.5, and the G8's saying under 2.
Exactly, so it's the emissions that happened between last Wednesday, when we were supposed to have peaked, and the next few decades that really count. The rest of it's already, you can't change the past. It's the future we've got to worry about.
That's true. So we're going to get into, sorry, we got into a bit too much detail there, but I'm sure you're all loving it. Because we're now going to go to a video, I hope, of Lizzie, the producer of the film, who 5 years ago didn't know any of climate change. And she's going to explain where we are and what the hell's going on, I hope.
This is the Bella Centre on the outskirts of Copenhagen, Denmark. It's a sprawling industrial complex, and it's usually host to such exciting and important events as the Wedding Trade Fair or Nordic Skiing Exhibition. But it's right here that the human species is going to find out whether or not we are stupid. This meeting is the culmination of 16 years hard work by politicians, bureaucrats, scientists, delegates, and experts and the non-experts who have no idea what they're talking about, but they love to get involved anyway. The whole process has a language all of its own, very obscure, and some say they make it so difficult to understand so that normal people have absolutely no idea what's going on. For example, it's officially called COP15. Now, COP stands for Convention of the Parties, and the parties are the countries involved in negotiating the deal. And it's called COP15 because this is the 15th annual meeting since Kyoto. But I don't know if the maths quite works out, because I think Kyoto was in 1997, so it's kind of 12 years. Anyway, don't get obsessed with the details. The most important thing is this meeting is called COP15, and you'll hear that a lot. The whole thing is run by the UN. Well, to give them their full title, the UNFCCC. UNFCCC stands for the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now, another important acronym while we're here is the IPCC, which stands for the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And that's the scientists, thousands of scientists looking into the issue and reporting back. So there's the UNFCCC, who run the show. There's the IPCC, who are the scientists reporting back on it all. Clear? This place is like some kind of weird small town, as you can see from this map. There's 25,000 people coming and going every day. Each country has a team of delegates. Europe has 450, a lot of the smaller countries only have 1, and they're battling it out every day to try and get the best deal for their country. And the delegate teams have a lead negotiator, and they're backed up by researchers, analysts, policy wonks, and your normal admin support staff. The country teams are harassed by both lobbyists from the fossil fuel industry and campaigners from the NGO world. NGO meaning non-governmental organisation, of course, and refers to people like Greenpeace and Oxfam. There's all sorts of dodgy tactics going on that we're starting to hear about, and exposing some of those on the Stupid Show. Then there's the service staff, the translators, IT staff, the security, the catering staff. It's even got its own bank. And finally, 5,000 media reporting in every conceivable language and format. All the showboating happens in this huge plenary room. But it's often in these little side rooms, and this one in particular, that the real deals get made behind closed doors and often very late at night. It's all sounding quite exciting, this whole COP15 thing. Sometimes it all gets a little bit too much. Usually these meetings are lucky if they get a couple of well-known faces, environment ministers and so on. But Copenhagen is so crucial that 120 world leaders are going to come next week to finalise the deal. Apparently this is the biggest ever gathering of world leaders in one place at the same time. And all of that is why it's being called the most important meeting in human history.
So basically, sorry if there was any technical difficulties there. I think Dad knocked the lead to his laptop. But basically, all these people, and as Lizzie says, are trying to make the new agreement that's going to replace Kyoto. So, Mark, Kyoto, any good? Tell us about it in one minute.
1 minute to explain the Kyoto Protocol.
Yeah.
Well, that's the challenge. Well, Kyoto was signed in 1997, and the idea was that industrialised countries, so the rich parts of the world who've mostly got the historical responsibility for causing this problem, would reduce their emissions by 5%, right?
Now, did they?
No, they didn't, to be honest. And the countries that did reduce their emissions did so probably accidentally, like the Soviet Union, which had a minor issue of a collapsing economy.
And the UK switched from coal to gas?
The UK switched from coal to gas, and that was a major...
How much did that save our emissions?
20% or so. So it was fairly significant. But the main issue was that the US didn't sign.
Yeah.
I mean, it signed, but it didn't ratify, and so that basically sunk Kyoto. And actually, if you look at the graphs of emissions trends, get to 1997 when Kyoto was signed, and that's when it really starts going up. You know, that's when the
so looking
the rise in
from a
emissions
historical
gets.
perspective, Kyoto's the worst moment. That's where our emissions start going up.
Yes, but you probably can't blame Kyoto for that.
No,
it's just that nobody took any notice of it.
It was just okay. So Kyoto was a total failure. Why are we all excited about Copenhagen? Why is it going to be different?
Well, because Copenhagen has to paper over the cracks that Kyoto opened.
Right.
So actually what the job of this conference is to come out with not just a replacement for Kyoto, which expires in 2012, but actually to come up with an entirely new agreement which actually has long-term agendas to what happens by 2050. So this is why this is so important, because this is humanity actually trying to solve climate change in its totality for the first time, rather than just dealing with these short 5-year periods.
So it is the most important meeting in human history.
It is the most important meeting in human history. This is the first time we've got together as a species and tried to do something intelligent about this problem.
Great. And what's this you got in your hand?
Well, I mean, just to give you an example of how convoluted these kinds of negotiating texts are, this is one of the proposed texts from the small island states. So this is up for the other parties to discuss here. I'm a delegate for the Maldives, I should have mentioned. So this is my proposal text to the conference as a whole.
Coincidentally, you decided to bring it.
So under Article 13 for compliance, the conference of the parties shall approve appropriate and effective procedures and mechanisms to determine and address causes of non-compliance with the quantified emission limitation and reduction commitments undertaken by developing country parties pursuant to subparagraph 6A and 6B of Article 4 of this protocol. It's all like that, you see. So you need to have been involved. Do you agree with that clause, by the way? Would you sign it or would you not sign it?
Yes,
you haven't got a clue, have you?
No,
and neither have most of the people here at this conference, including myself, to a large extent.
Is there anybody on Earth who understands everything about it?
Nobody understands the entire process, right? There will always be some subclause, or there will be some acronym which somebody, even Ivo de Boer, who's of course the secretary of the UNFCCC, do you know what that means?
I do,
wouldn't understand every single little bit. So
Well, luckily, our arts and crafts department is here, and they're going to unlock the puzzles of Copenhagen via. Just let me introduce our house band while we do this. They're going to unlock the puzzles of Copenhagen via the Copenhagen Sprint.
Stupid show, welcome to the stupid show, stupid show.
Good.
Walk on, what can you say?
Nice to meet you. So, the Copenhagen Sprint is this. And I'll just spin through very quickly what it is, and then Mark, you're going to explain what all these little men are doing, and women.